a couple of opening things I have to say, and then we'll go straight to questions for you all. Thank you for joining us for the press conference for the Kentucky women's basketball team. We're joined at the podium by student athletes Georgia Amoore and Dazia Lawrence. Just a few reminders. Please make sure that your cell phone is silenced. Also, please make sure that you identify your name and media affiliation each time that you ask a question during the press conference. A reminder that questions should pertain to the upcoming game or the game that's just been completed. If you're joining on Zoom, we do have a few folks that have done that. Please use the raised hand function for questions. I'll address questions in the room first and then get to Zoom as time allows. Recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is strictly prohibited, and flash photography is also not permitted. Just as a reminder, the locker room is also open for availability at this time. So we will open it up and begin with questions for our student athletes.
Caroline Mikowskis, Lexington Herald Leader. This one's for both of you. We just heard from K-State talking about the impressive guard matchups that we're going to see tomorrow. Can you guys talk about, are there similarities between the guard play that you'll see tomorrow and teams you've faced in SEC play, or is this kind of a new scenario for you?
I think there's a lot of similarities. They can shoot the three really well, and they have a couple guards that can attack the basket, which a lot of guards in the SEC does. But I think they can shoot the three at a very high volume, and they have a lot of great guards, and so do we. So I feel like it's going to be a pretty great matchup for guard play tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say the biggest takeaway from their guards, obviously when you have a big as impressive as Lee is, you have to be consistent in, number one, getting her the ball, but number two, getting the shots off that enables you when you have someone like that. They're so consistent, and I think they're genuine three-level scorers. So it's not like we can just focus on Lee or focus on, Sundell if she's creating. We have to be so focused on every single matchup. I don't think there is a weak link out there on the court when they play.
Kevin Fielder, EMA Online, Georgia. You mentioned Serena Sundell, and I think she's a little bit different in the way that she plays compared to you. What have you seen from her game that's sort of different from the way that you play, and are there any similarities in the way that you guys play?
If you look at the statistics, it says that we're, kind of one and the same assist-wise, but, I think it's impressive how she's able to lob to her bigs, the depth that they have inside. It enables a lot of opportunities for her to put that pass perfectly, in a scenario where their bigs have to do nothing but pretty much catch, turn around, and shoot. So she's really good at that.
Tamika Catchings, ESPN. When you guys look at the game yesterday and going into Sunday, how do you rebuild that momentum that you started the game with coming into K-State?
I think that it was interesting yesterday's game because obviously, like you said, we applied pressure first half, and second half we definitely took it off. I'm not quite sure why because, SEC season we didn't do that. I'm not quite sure if it's because we thought we had a lead, and once we got that lead that it was okay to take a step back, which, it's March, so it's not. So, I think that going into tomorrow's game, hopefully we've been woken up. Hopefully a lesson has been learned, but we have to do nothing but just revert to what we've been doing for the past 3-4 months, That's why we were so successful in the SEC, because we would have a good first half, build ourselves a comfortable lead, and then have an attempt at what we like to call a third quarter blitz, which we didn't do yesterday. But, going into K-State, we know that every single quarter, every single run, it's so important for us to keep applying that pressure on offense and defense.
Yeah, like G said, I think we learned a lot just from the second half of that game yesterday, and just saying that, just knowing that we can't let it get that close again, because next time it may not turn out the way that we want it to. So just, again, just locking in on how we played in that first half and playing that way for 40 minutes tomorrow.
Georgia, I know we see it across college basketball, but to win in March, you do need really good guard play. And really strong point guards. How much has that position grown, in your opinion, from, I guess, when you've started college to now?
You mean like all around?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, every great team needs a great point guard. You know, you carry a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders. Not only are you an extension of the coach, you have to be able to, you know, score, put your teammates in position to score, read the game, read the tempo, be able to tell, you know, everyone that what you're seeing, be able to articulate what you're seeing. And I think that's where the greats really separate themselves. And it definitely helps when you have such great role models in that position. You know, you look at the Nancy Lieberman list every single year, and there's everyone on that list is very notable. So I think, you know, it's a glorified position because it has to be. It's a great position to play. It's the hardest position to play. No bias there. It truly is. But everyone that plays it, you know, they know the responsibilities that you have to, you know, take on. So I think, you know, it's definitely grown. It's definitely progressed. And it's just so important to have a really versatile point guard.
Tamika Catchings again. I know you guys are both guards, but obviously the matchup tomorrow, we have not talked about Ayoka Lee. How do you guys as a team come back together and guard a player like that?
Yeah, she's the type of player that you have to change your game plan for. Like, maybe we're going to do some things that we quite not really have done, you know, throughout the year. Adapt to it because she's such a force in the interior. And, you know, the SEC was great. I'm not quite sure I can remember a time where we played someone like that in the SEC. In all honesty, you know, it's a very different style of play, but she's very effective. She's efficient. So I think, you know, just trying to make it as, like, we're not going to stop her. You're not going to stop a player as good as that. So you just have to make her life as difficult as possible.
Yeah, just playing team defense. I think that's what is going to help us a lot, playing together and just communicating a lot, playing for each other on defense tomorrow. And just we cannot be stagnant or just be in one place tomorrow. Like, we're just going to have to help each other in all aspects. So I think if we do that, we'll be in a pretty great position to win.
I think I'd know how to use a microphone. Sam Gore, Herald Sun, Melbourne, Australia. Just kidding. ESPN. You mentioned you haven't faced anybody in the SEC, maybe like Lee. So Reagan Beers, is she at all similar to Yoki? How would you compare those two?
I mean, you can say they're similar, but the way that we're looking at it is kind of different. I do think Lee is a little bit taller. The way that she shoots her shot is a little bit higher. Like, she has a very high release point, whereas Reagan likes to kind of get into your body, create contact, and finish. This is from a guard standpoint, so bigs out there, correct me if I'm wrong. Lee is very good at, you know, catching it, using her height to an advantage. She creates, it's effortless how she creates position. You know, it's not really, it doesn't look like she's in there like forcing too much. You know, she's just so strong and just so solid the whole way. So it's, you know, you can say it's the same, but I think it's a little different.
I agree with what G said.
D'Lo, I wanted to ask you just a little bit. I'm from North Carolina, so I know where you grew up in Greenville. Tell us a little bit about learning to play on a carpeted court and then the dungeon in Greenville, which is a pretty legendary place that if you can play there, you can play anywhere.
Yeah, so just growing up, I did play on the carpeted court. If you look at my knees, I have a lot of just carpet burn just because that's where I grew up. The gym was just carpet at the time. And I loved it. Every chance I got, I would go. I would probably be me and my cousin at the time were probably the only girls in there, just going up and down, just playing with the guys. So I look back at that moment like, wow, I really grew up playing on carpet. And then just the dungeon. It's still a gym in Greenville, North Carolina. And when you walk in there, it's literally the dungeon. You're not playing on wood. You're playing on literal cement. Whatever the temperature is outside, it's probably warmer outside than it is in the dungeon. So every time I go there in the summer, I tell them I need extra fans. I need doors open. I need water. So, a lot of great players have came through the dungeon. If it wasn't from the dungeon and growing up just playing where I did, I wouldn't be as tough and aggressive and just that dog mentality that I have today. So, just my journey in basketball has made me the player that I am today. So.
Caroline Mikowskis, Lexington Herald Leader. This one's also for both of you. yesterday you both talked a lot about, the importance of experience, the importance of depth. But throughout the season, we have seen great games from people who don't have that, D1 experience, someone like Amelia Hassett, someone like Clara Silva. What can you two say to sort of inspire that confidence to make sure everyone shows up ready to roll for 40 minutes?
I think at this point in the season, we've played however many games we have, and we really don't have to do anything different. Like, obviously, the anticipation gets higher, the stakes get higher, the talk surrounding the games get higher. It's March, it's what it's for, it's what you come here for, but it doesn't mean that you have to change. We've played some great games in the season that could have been this type of caliber game. So what's to say that we should change that mindset now? Like, we're perfectly capable. We've played those games. We don't have to change the way we are right now. And we don't have to succumb to all the other stuff that's happening around.
Also, just staying present and just show up as the best version of yourself. Like, the message has been that you don't have to be a superhero. Just be yourself and be your best self. So I think if we can just really tune into that and just understand, I just have to be myself. I just have to show up as myself and be great at that. Then I think that will help all of us with our confidence going forward in the tournament.
I do have one question on Zoom, but just want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered in the room first. Okay, Brad Harvey, we're going to go to you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was muted. So you guys come out aggressive yesterday, and you two are the senior leaders on this team. How do you carry that over for 40 minutes against Kansas State tomorrow?
You just got to do what you got to do. Like, that's what we've been doing all season. We know that we're the veterans. We know that, there's a little bit different expectations placed upon us, but it's nothing that we haven't handled all year round. And I think there's just a subconscious understanding that every single game, Dazia and I have to be great. We can't be good. We have to be great. And that helps carry a team like we have because, as previously mentioned, we have someone that, came from a JUCO school or people that just haven't been in this position, a Clara Silva who is fresh from Europe and is fresh from playing against 17, 18-year-olds. So, as long as we set the standard and we're confident and we exude confidence, then it's going to help uplift the other players. And it doesn't matter for how long for.
Yeah, I agree. I think just leading by example and just pouring into our teammates and not just encouraging them. There's a lot of leaders that when they get up, like when your teammates make a mistake, you just pound on them and get on them. But I think me and G do a really great job of uplifting, reminding our teammates next play mentality. Like, we all make mistakes. G does a really great job of not holding anything over our heads, and so I just try to follow that. And we just have to be uplifting to our teammates. We have to remind them who they are, and we pour into them, and they pour back into us. So if me and G show up and be the great players that we are, everybody else will follow.
One more question. You guys, when you're on the court, you both look like you're having fun. I mean, you play with a passion and a joy. At what point in a game do you feel like this is my day? I'm feeling it.
Sometimes if it doesn't feel like your day, you have to make it feel like your day, and I know that it's, I'm not going to say that every single day I feel so great, but I make myself think it sometimes. I think it's that positive mindset, and you can really shift, whatever you're feeling. Maybe I missed a couple of shots, okay, and I can't remember someone who went perfect all year round. So I think it's just the perspective of everything that, definitely helps me. I'm sure Dazia can say the same. Like, this is really our last go around. We're on this stage, and to have fun with it. Sometimes, in clutch situations or, a game like yesterday where it was a couple of seconds and we're only up 1-2. Like, I want my teammates to be able to look at me and be like, "Oh, G seems fine. Like, okay, we're good." Like, as soon as you have that panic or, that negative energy, it's very easy to spread. And Coach Brooks has been big on energy vampires. You never want to have that one person that just, you look at them and you're like, we lost her, or she's not feeling it today.
Yeah, just showing up as our best selves. It's easy to have fun with G on the court. You know, she makes it fun and just feeding off each other's energy. I know yesterday, like, I gave her a pass for the three, and I'm already running back down the court with the three because it's the trust that we have in each other, and we have so much fun on the court. And I just know if we're showing that, then everybody else, like I just said, everybody else will follow and just have fun, just as much fun as we're having.
Thank you so much. That concludes the press conference. We will start back with Coach Kenny Brooks here at 2:35, so just hang tight. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck tomorrow, girls. After a couple opening. Good. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the press conference for the Kentucky women's basketball head coach, Kenny Brooks. Just a reminder that if you're joining on Zoom, we have several that have done that. Please use the raised hand function for questions. I'll make sure I get questions answered in the room first, and then we'll come to you on Zoom as time allows. Recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited, and flash photography is also not permitted. If you raise your hand, we'll make sure that we bring the microphone to you. Just please state your name and media affiliation, and we'll open it up with questions for the head coach.
WYMT. Coach, after the win yesterday, what have been like the next steps that we haven't seen going into this game?
Obviously, you go right into preparation for the next opponent. We did watch the game yesterday just because we wanted to make sure we shored up some of the deficiencies that we had, especially in the post. So we did watch it. We showed the kids clips this morning, and then we will watch film on K-State here later on today. But it's that time of the year where you want to continue to get better. A lot of our kids are visual learners, so you want to show them what they did wrong. But also you're very limited in your time, so you want to use it wisely. So obviously we want to focus a lot of our attention on K-State. That's what we did today in practice.
Phoenix Stevens, Kentucky Sports Radio. Coach, at this point in the year, are you still, I guess you're always trying to improve, but is a lot of kind of masking what you're maybe not as great at because at this point you're maybe just kind of what you are at this point in the year? Are you still trying to, okay, well, let's do this better?
I mean, at this juncture, you are who you are. And we're a good basketball team that has strengths. We also have weaknesses, just like K-State, just like anybody that's you're playing against. So obviously you want to play to your strengths, you want to mask your weaknesses, and then you want to try to exploit the same on their end. And right now, it's just a will. Jeff knows what his team is, we know what our team is, and we're going to try to do our best and then try to exploit their weaknesses. But and that's what the beauty of March is. You're not going to go out and one day try to reinvent yourself as a team. But you want to try to just make sure you're playing your best basketball.
Kevin Fielder from Emo Online. Coach, two really good guards tomorrow in Georgia and Serena. What do they both do well, and how important is it to have a point guard like one of those two to help run your offense?
Yeah, they're both tremendous facilitators. They make everyone around them better. They do it in different ways. Obviously, one is 6'2", one is 5'6". But they do it in their own special way, which really makes them unique to the game. But it's invaluable. I'm sure Jeff will say the same thing. When you have a point guard of that magnitude who can really make everyone else around them better, it's a luxury. And it's been fun. And obviously, they're in a different conference, but with Sundell, her and Georgia's name were, always together because I think they were like 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 or something like that, and assists the whole year long. So it made you watch a little bit. So I think tomorrow, although I don't know, they probably won't guard each other at all unless they get switched off on each other. But it just goes to show you their uniqueness and how they both can affect the game as point guards, but in different ways.
And to that same topic, how does Serena sort of impact the game in her own unique way?
Well, I mean, she's a big guard, so she can see over top of, if you put a smaller player on her, she'll take them in, and she operates a lot around the paint. She can rise up over you. She can command a double team because she's so good at scoring around the paint, and then she can facilitate in that manner. Very unorthodox when what you see from a typical point guard, but she does it in a way that really causes problems. And I'm sure everyone has been able to say that, and it's going to cause us some challenges tomorrow.
Caroline Mikauskis, Lexington Herald Leader. Coach Jeff Mitty just told us that this is going to be a game that he thinks other secondary players from both teams will have to step up. Do you see it similarly? And if so, what kinds of conversations are you having with those players?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. We need a little bit more production other than Georgia. I think we got good production from Dazia Lawrence, from Clara Strack, although we probably could get a little bit more from her. But we are going to have some other people step up because it's going to be a intense basketball game. That's going to be two highly intelligent basketball teams. So we know we're going to try to take away the strengths. I'm sure they're going to do some things to Georgia to try to get the ball out of her hands, and we're going to do the same thing. But their team is so much more than Lee or Sundell. They're good, and they were a top 10 team legitimately, for most of the year. And then obviously they had to try to change their ways, but they still did a really good job. And in Lee's absence, everyone else stepped up and they played at a high level. They maintained their ranking and their positioning, and then all of a sudden it's a tremendous luxury. It's like, okay, let me just plug in an All-American now, a dominant All-American, and they become a really formidable team. And they're a team, they're a legitimate top 10. They really are. Their record is not indicative of who they could be. And obviously, when you take out Yoka Lee, even though the rest of the players are phenomenal, but she makes them that much more special. So so we understand it's been a little bit difficult trying to go back and watch them because we had to go back essentially 2 months ago to see what kind of team they're going to present to us tomorrow. But you can't look at it and say, okay, let me get Sundale, let me take away Lee, because they have Poindexter, they have a lot of players that can step up and score at a high clip. So I do think that some other players are going to step up, and whoever steps up in that fashion will probably give that team an edge.
Phoenix Stevens, Kentucky Sports Radio. Coach, you have Georgia, Clara Strack, Dazia, players who have experience in this tournament, but did you see some things yesterday from some players that, was their first time, some things that you like?
Yeah, I mean, we just, I think going on the stretch, we had opportunities to really put the game away, and we back-rimmed a lot of shots, and you give credit to Liberty. They made those shots. But we're going to need that special production from Tiani, where she's playing and she's out in the open court and she's flying around. She's getting offensive rebounds. We're going to need Amelia to step up. And I think she had some opportunities yesterday to knock down some big key threes. She hit a couple, but we're going to need her production as well. And then, I thought Sanaya Tyler did a good job coming off the bench, giving us a little bit of a spark. When Amelia missed that last shot, we kind of credited ST for getting deflection where we got the offensive rebound back. So we're going to need her to be a little bit more focused on, if she's got an open opportunity to step up and take it. So, and then I think Clara Silva is going to, she's been given a mission that she has to go in and she's got to help us battle and to go out there and play physical basketball. And, so it can't just be Clara Strack that's going to guard their post players. And it's not just Lee. They have an abundance of post players that they send in, and they pretty much play the same way with a physical style of play. So we're going to have a lot of hands on deck, and those kids are going to have to really produce for us.
Any other questions in the room? I do have a couple on Zoom.
Armando Berry, WYMT. I believe it was yesterday you talked about how important the front court battle was. K-State's coach talked about how he thinks that whoever is going to win this game will be the one who makes the contested shots. How important do you think that aspect of the game will be as well in this one?
Well, it's kind of contrasting styles. They're going to sit on the low block and really try to get the ball inside and play inside out. They do a tremendous job of that. Our post players are a little bit different where, we'll probably try to spread them out more so and make their post players run on the perimeter. So it's going to be two contrasting styles, and, whichever one is more productive will probably have the edge. I know they're going to try to play the physical style inside, and, we're going to try to make them run around and chase us a little bit. So it's going to be a match of wits, and, and hopefully, we can play to our strengths. But I do think that is going to be a key matchup, and but not in a way. It's kind of like all over the place. Like we talked about the point guards. They're different styles. Our post players are different styles, and so it's going to be two contrasting styles playing. But I think it's still really two good basketball teams competing.
Any other questions in the room before I go to Zoom? Okay, Brett Harvey, we're going to come to you. Let me get you off mute. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach.
How you doing?
I was going to ask you about Cassidy Rowe yesterday when the game was on the line. You put her in and on an inbounds and got the ball to her hands. And I just wanted to ask you about the confidence you have in her.
Well, at this point in the year, it's all hands on deck, and you give Cassidy a lot of credit. And obviously, her minutes have fluctuated throughout the season, but she's always stayed ready. I can't recall the exact timing I put her in, but I think it was like 12 seconds, and I called her name, and she sprinted to the desk, checked in, and she was the one that received the basketball, and did a really good job of helping take some of the pressure, off of Georgia in that situation, or even Dazia Lawrence. So added an extra element, and just proud of her. But she's been that way all year long, just ready to handle anything that's come her way.
Any other questions for the head coach? With that, this concludes the press conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.